Welcome back to Historic Adventures. Today, we're exploring the fascinating Goodrich Castle. We hope you enjoy. Perched on a commanding rise above a sweeping bend in the River Wye, close to the Anglo-Welsh border, stands Goodrich Castle, one of the most remarkable and well-preserved medieval fortresses in all of England. Throughout the centuries, it passed through the hands of the esteemed Marshall, Valence, and Talbot families, each leaving their mark on its storied history. Though its position on the borderlands might suggest a turbulent past, the castle largely enjoyed a tranquil existence until the mid-17th century, when the flames of the Civil War engulfed it. The Barbican served as the castle's outermost line of defence, a fortified outpost set upon an artificial island encircled by dry ditches. Accessed via a drawbridge, it was here that visitors to the castle were first received, where they would dismount from their horses before proceeding further into the stronghold. The gatehouse seamlessly blended advanced architectural design with state-of-the-art defensive features, reflecting the pinnacle of military engineering in the late 13th century. For any would-be attackers, the gatehouse posed a formidable challenge with its layered defences. The modern fixed bridge you cross today once functioned as a pivoting wooden drawbridge. Above it, a stone fighting platform allowed soldiers to fire down upon enemies below. The passage through the gate was secured by two pairs of heavy wooden gates, further reinforced by two portcullises, whose vertical grooves can still be seen in the walls. Above, two small openings in the stone suggest where the portcullis counterweights would have descended. Additionally, narrow windows were incorporated into the side walls, enabling archers to fire into the passageway from the adjoining rooms. The guard, despite his confined quarters, would have found a certain comfort in this space. From this room, he could maintain vigilant watch in all directions, all while keeping warm by the fire. A passageway from here led to his private guardrobe, or lavatory, providing a measure of convenience during his duties. The courtyard of Goodrich Castle bore a striking resemblance to the cloister of a medieval monastery, featuring a covered walkway that encircled a central lawn, providing access to the surrounding buildings. Though not a large castle by any means, Goodrich was capable of accommodating up to 200 people at a time during certain occasions. The only surviving mortar from the English Civil Wars, known as Roaring Meg, was cast in June 1646 under the orders of Colonel John Birch, reportedly by a local blacksmith at a forge near the castle. This powerful mortar fired grenades hollow iron balls filled with gunpowder, designed to detonate by a fuse timed to explode just after impact. Various parliamentarian reports praised the devastating impact of this new mortar, particularly against the northwest tower. The name is derived from the Latin and French words for floor, indicating that this building was constructed with two stories, a primary room at the level of the courtyard and a sunken basement below. These rooms were reserved for the most important members of the household, reflecting their elevated status within the castle. This was the heart of the castle, where lords and ladies dined, celebrated, and held court. The hall would have been filled with the sounds of music, the clatter of feasts, and the murmur of conversations, as noble families and their guests enjoyed the hospitality of the castle. Look around and envision the walls adorned with tapestries, vibrant with scenes of hunting, chivalry, and myth. These not only served as decoration, but also helped to insulate the room from the chill of the stone. The long wooden tables would have been laden with food, a display of wealth and abundance, while the lord of the castle presided from a raised dais at one end of the hall, signifying his authority and status. The Great Hall was more than just a dining room. It was a symbol of power and prestige. Here, important decisions were made, justice was administered, and alliances were forged. In times of celebration, the hall would be transformed into a space of revelry, with minstrels, jugglers, and dancers entertaining the gathered company. The southwest tower, constructed in the late 13th century, was an integral part of the castle's structure. Its basement and ground floors housed essential rooms that served the adjoining Great Hall, a wine cellar, a buttery for dispensing drinks, and a pantry for distributing bread. Above these, accessed by a staircase leading up from the Great Hall, was one of the castle's finest chambers, offering both comfort and prestige to its occupants. The 12th century keep is the tallest structure within Goodrich Castle. When William de Valence reconstructed the rest of the castle in the late 13th century, he likely chose to preserve the keep, not only for its defensive value, but also as a symbol of the castle's illustrious history. From its parapet, the keep provides commanding views over the surrounding landscape, a testament to its enduring significance. All medieval castles featured at least one chapel, and Goodrich Castle was no exception. William de Valence's family was notably pious. At one point, his household included no fewer than 9 priests. Though the chapel was left in ruins in 1646, it was re-roofed in the late 1950s, restoring a piece of the castle's spiritual heritage. In the late 13th century, the stables at the castle housed between 40 and 50 horses, serving the household of John de Valence. However, in 1646, these stables were destroyed during a raid by parliamentarian soldiers. The raiders seized the 80 horses kept there before setting the building ablaze, marking a devastating blow to the castle's resources. For centuries, a vital crossing point on the River Wye has existed near the site of Goodrich Castle, marking one of the principal routes between England and Wales. This strategic location likely influenced the decision to build the castle here. Following the Norman conquest of 1066, numerous fortresses sprang up along the borderlands. The story of Goodrich Castle begins shortly after this time. By 1101 or 1102, an English landowner named Goodrich Mapison had constructed the first castle on this site. Though the original structure has long since vanished, its name endures. Godric's castle became Goodrich Castle. A generation later, the castle's history took a new turn when Richard Strongbow's de Clare, a prominent nobleman, began building here as well. In 1148, Richard inherited Goodrich from his father, Gilbert, who had received the castle as a gift from King Stephen around a decade earlier. It is almost certain that Richard was responsible for constructing the well-preserved keep that still stands at the heart of the castle today, featuring several exquisite architectural details on its exterior. Richard Strongbow would later gain both fame and notoriety as the conqueror of Ireland and as a warrior in Normandy under Henry II. Upon his death in 1176, his children were too young to inherit, and so his vast estate, including Goodrich Castle, reverted to the crown. William and Isabella's 5 sons each inherited Goodrich Castle in turn, but by 1245, all had passed away without leaving surviving male heirs. As a result, the family estate was divided among William's 5 daughters and their descendants. In 1247, Goodrich came into the hands of their granddaughter Joan, who that same year married William de Valence, a French nobleman recently arrived in England and the half-brother of King Henry III. Under the stewardship of William and Joan, Goodrich Castle entered a new era of prosperity and transformation. Both documentary and architectural evidence suggest that much of the castle as it stands today dates back to their time. They modernised Goodrich, turning it into one of the most advanced fortresses of its age, a formidable defensive structure that concealed a complex and architecturally sophisticated residential core. William was a staunch supporter of Henry III during the king's turbulent power struggle with the English nobility, a conflict that eventually led to civil war. William's position as a foreign-born noble made him deeply unpopular among many English barons, leading to his temporary exile in France, where he nearly lost his English holdings. However, following the king's victory, William was restored to his estates. In 1270, he joined his nephew Prince Edward, later Edward I, on a crusade to the Holy Land, and later fought alongside him in the wars in Wales. William de Valence passed away in 1296 and was laid to rest in Westminster Abbey, leaving behind a legacy of transformation at Goodrich Castle. With no heir to succeed him, Aymer's death left the lordship of Goodrich in the hands of his young niece, Elizabeth Comyn. During her minority, the castle was once again taken into Crown custody. At this time, Edward II court was dominated by his powerful favourites, Hugh le Despencer the elder and his son, Hugh le Despencer the younger. The Despensers, intent on expanding their influence, coerced Elizabeth into relinquishing her possessions. After kidnapping and imprisoning her, they forced her in March 1325 to surrender Goodrich Castle to the younger Despencer. However, Elizabeth soon married Richard Talbot, the second Lord Talbot, who in 1326 reclaimed Goodrich in her name, likely just before the Despensers themselves were overthrown from power. The castle then became a cherished residence of the Talbot family for generations. During the Welsh invasions of 1404 and 1405, the young Gilbert, 5th Lord Talbot, played a key role in defending the area and securing Goodrich Castle. Architectural evidence suggests that several modifications to the castle were made during the Talbots' tenure in the 15th century. These alterations include the internal gallery at the west end of the chapel, expanded accommodations for retainers and servants in the East Range, and the addition of an extra story above the prestigious lodgings in the North Range, which also connected directly to the chapel. Goodrich Castle initially fell under parliamentarian control, likely with the support of Tyler, but it is most famously associated with the Royalist cause during the English Civil War. By late 1643 or early 1644, a Royalist garrison under the command of Henry Lingen took control of the castle. Their takeover was marked by violence, as Royalist forces reportedly burned farm buildings near the castle. By the end of 1645, Goodrich Castle had become a key stronghold for Royalist operations in the region. On the night of March 9th to the 10th, 1646, Colonel John Birch, the local parliamentarian commander, launched a surprise raid on the castle stables, stealing horses and setting fire to the buildings. While this daring attack served as a significant propaganda victory, it had little lasting impact on the Royalist hold on the castle. However, just a few months later, Birch returned with a renewed determination to capture Goodrich. A fierce siege ensued, vividly documented in contemporary letters and later accounts. Facing the threat of undermining and the formidable parliamentarian mortar known as Roaring Meg, Lingen and his Royalist forces ultimately surrendered on July 31st, 1646. Marking the end of Goodrich Castle's role in the conflict. The most lasting consequence of this chapter in history was the reduction of Goodrich Castle to ruins. However, enough of the structure remained intact for Richard Tyler to return and reside there. In response, Parliament ordered that the castle be slighted, rendered militarily useless likely by dismantling the battlements and damaging key defences. These works were completed by 1648. The castle remained in the possession of the Earls, later the Dukes of Kent, until it was sold to Admiral Thomas Griffin in 1755. From the 18th century onward, Goodrich Castle began to serve a new purpose as a tourist attraction. Much like nearby Tintern Abbey, it gained newfound fame among visitors drawn to the Wye Valley's historic monuments and wild, picturesque scenery. Located about 4 miles downstream from Ross-on-Wye, Goodrich became an ideal stopping point for those journeying by boat. By the early 19th century, the castle ruins had taken on a romantic appearance, with ivy, wild roses, and a renowned ash tree gracing the courtyard. Visiting the site was an adventurous affair, requiring ladders to access the stairs in the keep, with local guides providing historical insights. The arrival of a new railway line in 1873 brought even more visitors to the area, with a station conveniently located near the bridge, further enhancing Goodrich Castle's role as a popular destination. This deep ditch safeguarded the castle on 2 sides, expertly hewn from the rock on which the castle stands. Although it never held water, its jagged rock faces created a formidable obstacle, serving as a powerful defensive barrier against any approaching threats. The castle itself has a rich history, with the South Moat playing a key role during the English Civil War in the mid-17th century. The castle was a royalist stronghold, and in 1646 it came under siege by parliamentarian forces. The moat, combined with the castle's thick walls and strategic position, made Goodrich a tough nut to crack. However, after a prolonged siege, the castle was eventually captured, but not without leaving a legacy of resilience and tactical design. Over the centuries, the South Moat has seen many changes, with the passage of time turning this once vital defensive structure into a picturesque feature of the castle grounds. Today, visitors can explore the area and get a sense of the strategic importance it once held. This deep ditch served as a crucial line of defense for Goodrich Castle, protecting it on 2 sides. Carved from the very rock upon which the castle stands, the ditch never held water, yet its jagged rock walls made it a formidable barrier to any would-be attackers. We hope this video brought value to you. If it did, give us a like and drop us a comment. And please consider subscribing. All our social links are in the description. Until next time, see you soon.